Now, this one's gonna be a little heavy, but not too much though. But I kind of want to start with asking this question, which is simple. The question spawns from like personal stuff that I've been dealing with, and we'll get into it, but essentially it's, why must I bleed for you in order for you to see me as human? And what really got me thinking about that was because me and my little sister had like a little spat a little while ago, where she did something that it was just kind of like, dang, you don't really respect me for real, that's crazy. And then, we got to talking it out and everything, and she was just kind of like, well, dang, I didn't know you was going through all of this stuff, or I wouldn't have done XYZ. And it was just like, why do I have to tell you what's going on in my life for you to honor and respect what I'm saying or what I'm asking of you? Why? And, not just to keep it in that scope, let's broaden it for a little bit. Like, why as a person must I have to cry in order for somebody to understand my plight or my pain or whatever? Like, why must I have to tell you all of the boo-hoo stuff that's going on in my life in order for me to be seen as worthy of human decency? That's kind of crazy to me. And now let's take it a step further. Recently, Tyler Perry just dropped a movie called Straw. And now, like I said before in the past video, we don't tolerate TP slander on this channel. So not too much on my man, because he's done a lot for black people in the art space. And just in real life too. Let's not do, let's not do too much on TP. Now with Straw, I was hesitant to watch it because I was like, oh, it's some sappy black single mom story. Like, I don't really care. But for whatever reason, it was on the Netflix references, and I clicked on it and I watched it. And that movie took me on a roller coaster of emotions, because I could relate to it on so many different levels. One being the child of a single mother, and like as a kid, you kind of grow up and you see your parents hustling and bustling, and and you hear them talk about, oh, I had to rob Peter to pay Paul. You hear them say stuff like that, but you don't really bag the magnitude of what the links that they went to rob from Peter in order to pay Paul. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this movie definitely like put a lot of stuff in perspective. Just to give a little backstory, my mom was in the United States Navy for 20 years, and for 13 of those years, she wasn't really there. Not because she was a trash mom, but because the world needed her, essentially. And I'm not saying that like a bad thing, Jesus, because I know that was kind of heavy to say, but it was the truth. And so for a lot of it, like, I didn't understand her movements sometimes, and that movie Straw put a lot of it into perspective, because I was like, oh dang, like because we didn't really have family helping us out. It was basically like people that she grew up with that was looking out for us and stuff. And just like trying to balance being in the military, being a woman, being a black woman single mother in the military, you know what I'm saying? And she was in the Navy during a time where it was not what it is now. Like, they was really hating black people in the Navy. Like, they was really segregating and being racist and just all, locker room talk, all of that. So, I could only imagine the type of stresses and strains that her life, had, on top of trying to raise a child, let alone a daughter, which I don't think takes away from raising a son. I get annoyed that people put so much emphasis on like oh, raising a son versus raising a daughter, because in my mind it's the same. Like, granted, I know gender wise it's different, what's required for each, what they need is different, but at the end of the day you're raising a person. The only commonality in that is that they're black, you know what I'm saying? But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But that movie Straw put a lot of stuff in perspective, and then now, being that I'm 28, I don't have no kids, amen, but now that I'm 28 and I'm dealing with my own stress of trying to work in an economy that is relentless in its lack of care for the middle class workers, as far as high gas prices, and then the fact that businesses love to say, oh, don't nobody want to work, but the real tea is that these don't nobody want to pay. So which one is it going to be? Either you're going to pay me and I'm going to work, or I'm not going to work. So like, just dealing with that whole dichotomy and seeing her maneuver through that and everything. But to really drive the point home, what really took it for me was the whole time of her being in the bank, and throughout the whole time she's just saying, like, nobody hears me, nobody sees me, nobody's listening, nobody hears me, nobody sees me, nobody's listening. Like, she's just saying that time and time again. And as a black woman, that resonated with me, because a lot of the times, you know, I do feel invisible in this world, in the sense of just like, nobody cares about what it is I have to say, and they're not surprised by my intelligence, nor are they impressed with my vernacular. It's almost as if there's nothing that I can do to showcase my value, because at the end of the day, this world is not it's not orchestrated in a manner in which they take care of women or see women as something of value. They very much just see women as incubators for babies, and, you know, as a form of social currency. And so that kind of sucks. And for him to have portrayed all of that in this story was like super duper incredible. But like, you get down to the end of it, and I was literally bawling my eyes out. Shout out to Tyler Perry, because it's only 2 movies that have ever made me like cry. One of them being Everything Everywhere All at Once. At the end of the movie, I'm sobbing, like dry heaving. The other one is The Time Traveler's Wife, but as I've grown up, I realized how problematic that movie is. But it's still a beautiful love story nonetheless. It's just a little awkward. But now this is the other movie that has brought me to tears. And there was a specific moment at the end where, like, you know, she's getting ready. Taraji's character is getting ready to give herself over to the police. And, you know, you're watching it and you're just like, bro, they better not light her up, yo. Like, I'm gonna be so teed if she ends up dying, because she doesn't deserve to die. And you see, what's her name? Sherry something. I can't remember her name because she got the TV show, but she also a legend in the industry as well. But her and Tiana Taylor, they're having this conversation about bringing her outside, and she's just like, no, you know, I'm gonna go back in there and I'm gonna walk out with her. And like, I don't know about y'all, but when I watch movies, I talk back to them, because in a lot of ways, that's what a film is. It's dialogue. It's an open discussion between the viewer and the piece itself. And I enjoy watching the type of films that make me talk out loud to it, and then they give me the answer right then and there, or the answer comes about later on in the piece and I'm like, oh, or it's just like, I love those moments where I'm watching something and something crazy happens and I'll be like, what? And then another character says, what? I'm just like, yeah, like we in the same time frame, because what the hell? You know what I'm saying? Like that might just be me though. But so Sherry or Cheryl, I wish I could remember her name. It's just something. She's like, no, I'm gonna go back in there and I'm gonna walk out with her, because they know that if she come out there by herself, they spraying it down. And literally this moment is happening and I'm like, no, yeah, because you need to protect her. And as I'm saying protect her, that's when the waterworks starts coming out, because you realize, like, Malcolm X has said it multiple times. It's a phrase that as Black people we love to say, but I don't think we ever really sit with the magnitude of what it's implying, which is that the Black woman is the most unprotected and disrespected person in America. And it still rings true 20, 30 years later. And so, because who is protecting us? I think about Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland and all the other countless women that have not been named, and not just in police interactions, but I mean, like, Black women have the highest mortality rate when it comes to childbirth in hospitals, and that's because they don't listen to Black women when they say they are experiencing pain, and that is because of some random white person from back in the day came up with the assumption that Black women just have higher pain tolerances, and so that's why they don't give us the care. And whether the medical community wants to acknowledge it or not, a lot of the things that they are taught are based in oppression and discrimination, and so they're being taught how to treat other Black people, or in this case Black women. And because that notion exists in the medical field, whether they believe it or not, subconsciously they end up treating Black women like that, and then they end up dying. When you think about interpersonal relationships between Black women and men, whether it's Black, Hispanic, Italian, Arab, Jew, like, it don't matter. Like, to not make it such a whatever thing, I'll just say this about it. Like, it's convenient how, and I'm gonna keep it in the scope of Black relations, Black men and Black women. It's convenient how a Black man will be annoyed, utterly repulsed, and abhorrently annoyed by a Black woman having any sort of attitude, holding him accountable, her mouth, whatever, what have you. They will be grossed out by that. But let it be some Latin shorty with that same temperament. Now it's cute. Now it's worthy of enduring because they're exotic. Crazy. But so it's just like, who's actually protecting the Black woman? Who's actually there fighting for the Black woman? I know Black men love to make it seem like they're on the side of Black women, but I challenge them in the sense of, well, how do you talk about us when we're not present? Because for me, that really is the determining factor of you actually protecting Black women. Like, are you speaking up when you around your buddies and they saying some off the wall stuff? Are you correcting them, or are you just laughing it off? Like, cause it's cool you standing up for us when we're in the room, but what are you doing when we're not in the room? In the workplace, on the street, in the doctor's office? What are you doing for us when we're not present? And quite frankly, I don't think it's enough. Granted, I know that whole thing is laced with generational oppression and, just systematic oppression and all of that. Like, I understand why some Black dudes don't be trying to mess with Black women, because we do some crazy stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to make it seem like Black women are innocent in anything, because we're not. But in that same breath, who's protecting us? And so in that moment in the movie, it was just like, wow, like it was like, no, protect her. And seeing them physically crowd around her and do that, it was just like, wow. But like, you know, if we could scoot back a little bit, when she's having the whole moment of like telling everybody the real deal about the cop and her job and how she wasn't coming there to rob the bank and all of this other stuff and everything like that, it's just kind of like, dang, like it all starts really with the boss, really, you know what I'm saying? Because like, why does she have to, or not even that, but it's just like, why did she have to say all of that for people to start humanizing her? Why don't people listen to black women the first time when they say they need help, when they say they're going through something, when they say whatever? Why is it that as a black person, I have to go through the literal ringer? I have to take the dagger out of my back and slice it into my forearm and bleed out for you to recognize me as a human being. That's so freaking crazy to me. And it's like, I expect that type of requirement from white people. I know that's sick to say, but it's just like, you know, racism is taught, it's learned. So it's just like, I expect them not to understand me. I expect to have to talk to them like a 5-year-old so that they can understand stuff. I expect that. But when it's my people, why should I have to do that with y'all? That's kind of crazy to me. And quite honestly, it's sad. That whole movie was a conundrum. Because then you get to the end and you realize, like, you know, she's doing all this for her daughter, and her daughter died the night before. And that was the spark for all of this, which brings it to an even bigger conversation about, like, you know, police relations with how they de-escalate situations of black people. I remember I watched a video years ago of this white man with a literal chainsaw aggressively moving towards a white police officer, and they were able to detain that whole situation. No therapy person on set, no nothing. They was able to handle that situation immediately, and it was clear that this person was under some sort of mental duress, you know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, though, he didn't die, you know, had to do time or whatever because of, you know, simple fact you coming at a police officer with a chainsaw, but he didn't die. Whereas, you know, there's black people that have black people got mental illness. I don't care, yo. Niggas was enslaved for 400 years, and then after being enslaved, they went through 50, 60 years of oppression and segregation. Niggas is mentally ill, okay? And it's like, dang, we don't deserve to die for that. In that movie, Straw, with Taraji's character, she didn't deserve to die. No matter the situation, she did shoot somebody, but the boss should have died. He deserved what he got because honestly, if he would have just, mind you, that was a black boss talking crazy to a black woman. Like, if he would have just calmed down and shown her some compassion, who's to say we would have even got a movie? You know what I'm saying? There wouldn't have been no story to tell if the compassion would have started with him. But it didn't. The only person that was compassionate towards this lady was other black women, because they had the empathy in order to, you know, like, it's like, dang. Which is a whole nother conversation, because it's like, do men really lack empathy, or do they just not give a damn? Because what? I think it's both. but this whole idea that as a black person I gotta bleed for other black people in order for them to see me, It's super sad, and it speaks to where we're at relationally as black people in this country in 2025. Like, we're not unified at all. Not the way they used to be in the 90s, the 80s, and the 70s. You know, the 70s was a wild time, and the 80s was even wilder. But look, niggas was doing the booger sugar together. Niggas was doing the crack together. Like, we were still together. You feel what I'm saying? Like, what's going on now? We're not together as a people at all. And that's the reason why they get over on us the way they do, is because we're not a unified front anymore. You know, it's down to the point where it's just like, as long as I can get the new iPhone and cop the new J's and keep up whatever trend that's going on social media, I'm cool. Or I got it out the mud, you gotta get it out too. Like, damn. I'll leave y'all with this. There's this thing in Pan-Africanism created by Marcus Garvey. Y'all need to look into that if y'all haven't. But in Pan-Africanism, there's a symbol, and it's called Sankofa. And the Sankofa symbol is like this duck-looking thing, this bird-looking thing. And in it, it's turning its beak back on itself. And the notion of Sankofa is that as people of the African diaspora, not only is it our duty to go out and go get it, but it's our responsibility to bring back what we get to our people. And we don't do that, unfortunately. I look at other ethnic groups, the Jews, they got it down. The Hispanics, they got it down. The Indians, not the Native Americans, indigenous people. I'm talking about people from India. The Indians, they got it down. The Asians got it down. But black people, we go get it and then we leave niggas to fend for themselves. Sometimes it's like, is it really the white man or is it the black man? Is it really systematic oppression, or is it the fact that we believe so much in the system's design, in the system's nature to keep us down, that it works? Like, that's the reason that it works, is because we believe so hard in that compared to believing in ourselves. Because the way I feel, like, if the system really was holding niggas down, we wouldn't have black millionaires. We wouldn't have black billionaires. In Virginia alone, there's hella black millionaires. Hella. In Virginia alone. You know, is it really them or is it us?